This Friday, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are back to switch things up in Disney's Freakier Friday.
Totally. Yes.
It's an absolute riot.
Woo!
And the only movie that can be described as
So much weirder than the last time. What last time?
it's the frequel
You ready?
we've been waiting for.
That absolutely slays.
What deeply out of touch old person came up with that?
You did.
Wow.
Don't miss the comedy event of the summer for all ages. Disney's Freakier Friday in theaters this Friday. Get tickets now. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
It's Wednesday Addams. I see you're trying to distract yourself from your own banal thoughts. Let me help. Here's a recording thing made of my latest root canal.
Wednesday, Season 2, begins August 6th, only on Netflix.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, we are recording. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, Criminal Mischief Nation. This is another bonus episode of Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Branden. I'm the Branden of that duo with the great, inimitable Carolyn Osorio. Hello, Carolyn.
Hello, Branden. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little bit tired. I had family in over the weekend. Great time.
Yeah.
But tour guide kind of stuff.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah. My aunt, my dad's older sister, and my cousin, she's a couple years older than me. We spent so much time together, like growing up and summers together and all that, and we're all really close. And then I moved to LA and haven't they've never met my kids.
Oh, that's so fun! Oh my gosh, that's fun. That's fun.
So it was great. We had a great 4 days. I was Uber driver and tour guide and chef and just about everything. And it was great. We had a lot of fun, but I'm very tired and very behind on work because you know us, we don't really work through weekends, and I got 0 work done over the weekend. So, but I made up for a lot of it today. So yeah. It was. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I had a great weekend. It was like slow. I discovered something that I had no idea. I don't know what your first CD was that you bought. Do you remember?
Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions. It was a rap group out of the Bronx. Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't buy it. It was a gift for my 16th birthday. Okay,
that's funny. All right.
Yeah.
So I was watching this reel, and I got Arsenio Hall, and right and
Man,
this
X going deep,
baby.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
So there's that, and then there's this beautiful Black woman that is like, she's sitting on the couch, and she's a little bit, she's a bigger woman, and I only say that because it'll make sense. But they were like, Arsenio's like, so you're really well known. There's a really popular song out right now, but probably people don't know that it's you. And he's like, okay, sing. And then all of a sudden she belts out, and I'm not going to try because it would be pathetic, but she's like, everybody dance now.
Oh, wow.
That song?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And she, in that video, I don't know if you remember that video, but it was with a thinner, like model type woman that was kind of going like this.
Yeah.
And it's like, she totally got cut out of that. I did not know that.
Wow.
And it was bringing back so many memories. That was like the first CD I had ever bought, was that CNC Music Factory.
CNC Music Factory.
Yeah.
Wow.
That just is so terrible. Like, what an injustice that you have this.
You remember the band Blues Traveler?
Of course.
Wonderful band. John Popper, the lead singer and the harmonica player,
Mm-hmm.
massive dude, like massively like overweight kind of guy, incredibly talented. They did a video spoofing that very thing. They did a video where he's behind the curtain doing all this stuff, and there's this skinny, sexy, like, sex iguana type of Mick Jagger type of frontman on stage, like doing all of the stuff, and the camera keeps going to him backstage, and he it was his idea. The video was his idea. Like, he was like satirizing that very thing. Like, he's not good looking enough to be the front man of his own music in his own band. And then the interesting thing was that later on in his career, he went on this huge diet and lost all this weight and, and got in shape. But yeah, that shit, that's like Cyrano de Bergerac kind of stuff,
I just felt like that was so messed up, because I went and loved that song, and how many people have danced to that song, and how many hearts have been swooning around that, like,
Absolutely.
And then
how many times I've awkwardly ground my teenage hips against an unwilling recipient on the high school dance floor. Yeah, lots of times.
I know. So I was on my hike and I was just putting that on replay. I was like, oh my gosh, because I'd totally forgotten about the song. I mean, just completely. And I like just have this shit-eating grin on my face. And I just had such a great, like, I was just thinking of all the moves that I had. But at the end of the day, I just was like, and I think that was the whole Milli Vanilli thing too. The guy who was actually the singer of those songs, I think, was like,
also the voice of Milli Vanilli.
It was the two good-looking Milli Vanilli dudes, but the guy who actually sung the songs was like not, I guess, good enough looking to sell it. At least that's
I thought they reverse engineered that. I thought they had Milli Vanilli, and they're like, these two guys are stars, and they can dance, and they're handsome, and they've got like a style. Let's try and make them stars. And they got a singer. I could be wrong about that, but that was my.
I mean, I think that you could be wrong, or I could be wrong, but the point is that the guy who sang the song should have been the one who was like on stage, not 100%. Behind the curtain. It's like
100%.
So anyway, I just felt it was an injustice that I needed to talk about tonight.
Hey, but look, but now, I mean, and again, it goes back to the whole Cyrano de Bergerac thing. Like what's attractive is how someone looks or what their mind creates and how you can woo somebody with your words. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, the modern remake of Roxanne with Steve Martin in the late 80s, early 90s, right? Mm-hmm. They just had him have this comically big nose and thought that no woman would ever like him. So he hides in the bushes and tells the guy what to say, but it should be him. He comes up with the words that makes the woman fall in love with the guy. Right. So it's all, I mean, it's been explored in a lot of different mediums, but that's, at the end of the day, it's just kind of sad. I guess.
No, it was because the woman was beautiful and she was like, she literally belted it out on demand, perfect note. Yeah. Like it was incredible. I was like, wait a second.
Yep.
I mean, life isn't fair. We all know it, but that just seemed particularly like, messed up. So anyway, I had a great weekend, and Good. We have something fun to talk about today.
Yeah, a new friend and hopefully colleague at some point in the future, Jonathan Hirsch, kind of, of the OG class when it comes to documentary podcasting. It's such a new industry going, 2018 is considered, OG because that predates a lot of the big network stuff, up there with Serial and those kind of shows and his stuff. And he's a really sweet guy and a really down to earth guy and a really humble and talented guy. And don't let him fool you. He's willing to take some really big creative risks and really kind of put himself out there, and
I mean, if you listen to, and I highly recommend, Dear Franklin Jones, that to your point, what I loved about it was that he was willing to take those emotional risks, which are so difficult to do, especially if you're a journalist, and insert yourself into the story and not, it feels wrong to do so. And yet he was the story in his family. And so,
Right.
you really open yourself up to exposure, but he did it in such a way that it was like you could handle it because he was funny and he didn't take himself too seriously. And I just really appreciate that combination. Sometimes when it's so intense and it's like, some things, should be that way. But in this case, I feel like he balanced it with the humor, which I
He
really
did. And sometimes you have to laugh, right? What else are you gonna right. What else are you gonna do? You gotta just laugh at it and say, hey, I got through it. I'm still here. I'm still alive. And I'm going to tell my story and I'm going to do what I have to do to heal and to move on and to make sense of my life and to figure out my place to stand,
Well,
And
I mean, I think we were talking in an episode a couple weeks ago about being willing to take risks and making a fool of yourself and falling on your face and not being afraid to do it. And I think that whenever you do something like this kind of a creative endeavor where you really put your heart and soul and put yourself on a platter, it's like, this launched his podcasting career.
yeah.
And
you never know. And it could have crashed and burned. Like, it's funny when Bono was honoring Frank Sinatra, right, in the late 90s before Sinatra died in 98. One of my favorite lines that in any kind of honorific kind of speech, one of the things that Bono said about Sinatra was that he'd rather show you his scars than his medals. Okay. And right. And I think that's so cool because our failures and our scars are oftentimes what define us, and the risks that we take and all of the failures that lead to the successes, because there's a lot of failures first, always,
Yes.
and you got to be willing to fail spectacularly, Yeah.
I think that the thing that makes it work is when you have processed the pain. Like I was in a writing group forever. I swear it was like a therapy group. And it really is like people can listen to your story, but you have to get to the other side of it before you can actually tell it. You know what I mean? Like if you're still in the throes of it, if he couldn't, in our conversation, he said it came out in so many different ways. Like, I don't know if you heard his musical, when he was in a rock band, but I was literally laughing because it was so funny and so like pedestrian. Like he was trying to get this out, but he really wasn't at that place where it was fully processed and he could really kind of examine, for a larger audience. And then he got there. And then it's like the perfect time for this podcast that he did. You know what I mean? It's like all these iterations that he had tried and failed to do, the scars weren't completely healed, I guess is what they were, still open wounds.
Yeah. And they probably still will be, for a while. They, scar tissue and then it opens back up and, I mean, who knows when those experiences are going to stop defining you in different ways, and when you're going to stop being affected by them, and you could say, okay, I'm actually free of this, and I can let it go. But it's going to color your personality. It's going to color your decision making. His antenna is maybe going to be up when someone's trying to sell him something a little bit, and I don't know. It's weird. Have you done any research into any cults or anything like that ever?
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtual Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your virtual pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Well, just that when I found out that we were in one that I didn't know, was
Right.
like when I was growing up, I felt like we were, I
Yeah.
felt like what was happening, because my mom was right for the picking. She had just been divorced. She was searching. She was vulnerable. She, all that stuff. Fortunately, we were able to get out of that. But I've done research in that way and also spoken to experts like the guy, the Nexium one. I think that's the name of it. The one with
Oh yeah, the sex cult. Yeah.
right. And I interviewed the like a guy who was like the premier cult guy that you talk to and who knows everything. And it was a really great interview because he explained how it works, how they see you being vulnerable and they see you, the cult leader, and they promise, I can help you. And then they break you down and say, you're broken. And then, you are this and this and this. And then you become dependent on them. But I can fix you. I can fix you. And like, it's just that dance. There is a formula to it. And that made me, after I talked to him, it seemed to make so much more sense because on the surface of it, you're like, how? Because like in Dear Franklin Jones, there was one interview with a guy who'd basically, I think it was with his dad, who had done drugs and was on some trip and saw like a religious experience from it. And it's like, okay, it reminded me when I was like in high school and we did some shrooms and I was sitting in the back of we were supposed to get out and everybody got out of the car. And I was sitting there with a bottle in my hand and I kept flipping it like this, thinking I was seeing a light show inside this bottle.
Yeah.
Like from the fire, it was like this fireplace. The whole point of it is I didn't wake up the next morning and think it was God trying to speak to me.
Right.
He's giving me he's giving me a message. He's sending me a message with this light show.
Because you weren't like emotionally susceptible to that type of abuse, right?
Right.
Because it's abuse.
Yes.
No, I was trying to acquire the rights to a show called We Interrupt This Programming about a married couple whose job it is to go and violently, if necessary, kidnap kids, teenagers that have joined a cult at their parents' request, right? Like their parents are like, my kid is involved in this cult. They don't know what the fuck is going on. Here's money. Go get them and not only get them out of there, but then deprogram them, like break them of this.
Yeah.
And their stories are fucking crazy. Really, really crazy.
How do they not be considered the criminals in this? Because if a person
that's why it was so hard to get the show, because they operate outside of the law in this and they know it. They know it, but parents are desperate and these two people were like Jonathan, they grew up in a cult, so they knew all the tricks and they knew how to break people, and their success rate is amazing. But they've also been prosecuted a couple times,
Yeah.
And then when this gets in front of a judge, the judge is like, well, shit, what do I do with this? because a rational, sane person will know that this young mind was being assaulted and corrupted. And even though they claim they were there willingly, is it, Stockholm syndrome? Okay. Is it a sincerely held belief that you actually think this person is is a messiah type of David Koresh, type of a messianic kind of figure? So I read up a lot about that, but then I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it's not funny. The Heaven's Gate cult,
Yeah.
okay, right, which had its roots back in the 70s in your neck of the woods, somewhere up in like the Pacific Northwest, was where that fucking wackadoodle guy, okay, started the whole thing, and his angle was, and with this angle, it's like, well, if you get someone, you've got them, because these people are really specific in their beliefs. And when you find a like-minded person that you latch on them about, the mothership is coming, and, heaven is actually another planet, and we're going to be aliens, and we're going to be gods on this new planet. I'm like, I think that too. I happen to know the aliens, and I'll let you know when they're coming. So hang out with me, and we're going to do stuff for the next 20 years and whatever. And then just by a stroke of luck, the Hale-Bopp comet starts coming around in like 96, 97. And he goes, it's not a comet. It's actually the mothership. So let's get ready. And the whole reason that I started researching this was because I'm a sneaker lunatic, right? I love sneakers. Okay. And one of the hardest, rarest sneaker to find are the Nike, the black Nike Decades that all of those people were wearing as part of their uniform when they killed themselves because they were going to space. And the blankets that they were covered with didn't cover their feet. So in all the crime scene photos, you see these dope Nikes like sticking out the end of the blankets. But Nike's like, fuck that. And they recalled every single pair. Everything.
Oh, really?
Off the shelves. You can't find Nike Decades anywhere. But however many of the Heaven's Gate cultists died that day, all of those shoes are in an evidence locker somewhere in San Diego. And some sneakerheads have tried to go down there and convince them to sell them, to get the sneakers, because you can't get them. I think there are maybe 30 members of the cult. There are 30 pairs of pristine.
That's such a gruesome freaking story.
I understand, but they're come on.
Hey, Branden, you fucking lost me. That's so gruesome. Are you
It's
saying
gruesome. I wouldn't want.
You would actually
Listen, I wouldn't want a pair of those sneakers.
Okay, the look on your eye, you were
no.
Listen, making me
I
wonder.
get it's to a real sneakerhead. Okay, it's like a Mickey Mantle rookie pristine baseball card. Okay, to have a pair, because the rarity, and
I get it. I get it. You're
know
a
that they're never worn, even though they're on a dead person's feet. Okay.
I mean, just the way their clothes were piled up like that was so.
It was awful.
It was really like
fucking awful. Here, drink this stuff. We'll see you on the spaceship.
Where I was when that story broke. I was waiting tables. We were all like thinking the bar, like watching it happen. It was kind of like the OJ thing. Like
a couple years after OJ, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so many of these things I was working, in the restaurant, and like collectively we were all there watching it go down in the bar, just what's happening, because as you know, OJ Simpson just recently passed away, and all that stuff, you think about like where you were when it happened. And we were actually talking to our kids about it because it happened so long ago that they didn't really, of course they've heard OJ Simpson, but they didn't really know like what is the Bronco chase,
just the cultural moment that was, how big of a star he was, how much of a household name he was, and then what he was accused of, and then the trial, and just brutal, fucking brutal. But yeah, so what was that? The Heaven's Gate cult guy's name? Apple White or Apple Thwaite?
No, I could picture his. Did you see my eyes just go like that?
Yeah, he's all like, hey.
Yeah, with the silver things, and it was like that purple outfit or something.
Yes, always. And it was just so weird. And people were like, that's our guy. He's
And the thing
taking us
is
to the
that
new
I think
planet.
that we'd never. I think I think of course there's Jonestown, right? There was that whole thing.
Jonestown, and then there's the Branch Davidians in Texas, right?
Right.
With
But
David
they
David
didn't, I think
Koresh.
like in the 90s, like this Hale Bop thing was, I think it was just like, what is this? Because that happened with Jonestown in the 70s. So it really wasn't,
Yeah,
it was,
Koresh was a little bit more accessible because he was purely got Jesus.
right,
I'm the Messiah. It was biblical. People could relate to it. People go, okay, I
right.
know religious kind of weirdos in my life, and
Yeah.
and great, and I know like normal religious people that are super cool and love God and they do charity and stuff, and then there's the extremists, okay, the David
Mm-hmm.
Koresh people,
Mm-hmm.
but Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even like I don't even think of it as Heaven's Gate. I always just think Hail Bop because when I
Yeah,
heard
because that was
Hail
the
Bop,
comment, right? But what I'm
there-
saying is like
I
it
know.
was such a crime of opportunity. Like this fucking whack job is like the spaceship is coming and there it is. He happened to have a celestial body that was visible to the naked eye, right?
I
And you're
know.
like, I told you it was coming.
I know.
They're right fucking there, and they're like, "Whoa, dude, it's
Was
time, really?"
were there any children in the
No,
Heaven's
no,
Gate?
no, no, no,
Okay,
no.
okay.
They were all like, you know, misfits or or people who held like kind of strange beliefs and were ridiculed until they find the right people that say, "No, I believe it too," and
Mhm.
let's go. And
That's what Jonathan would refer to it in the podcast. He would say he would call people seekers,
yeah,
people who were instead I would say people who are vulnerable, right? But he would call people, seekers. They're people who are seeking something, and there's not
companionship, seeking
that
to
negativity.
belong, yeah, to be a part of, yeah,
Right, right. And so it's like I get that seeking part. It's just that if you're seeking and vulnerable and you happen to fall into a really charismatic leader, even though it's hard to imagine that guy with the big eyes and the silver hair and the purple robes. Perfect, Brandon. Perfect. Like I don't I don't see it, but
his wife was wacky too. Both of them had all that weird like, "Ooh," and people are just like, "Yeah, dude, I hear
Mhm.
you. Aliens, the ship's coming. We're gonna go live in outer space."
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And so at least Koresh, was he fit the mold of like a Manson cult leader and Jonestown and they were like like kind of offbeat, but had this kind of physical kind of power and appeal and the confidence in which they spoke. This
And
this guy,
multiple wives.
yeah, this guy from Heaven's Gate was like this nerdy, like almost like
You gonna say
evil,
Rufus?
like Mr. Rogers kind of
Yeah,
thing going on,
I
like
know. I know. So it just goes to show in Cult 101, you don't have to be good looking and you don't have to be, you can, woo people with just
right.
about anything.
You just gotta be you gotta have a grifter's kind of mentality,
Yeah.
and when you have to be a manipulator.
Mhm.
That's it.
Mhm.
Fucking
And that's
manipulator.
what this cult leader was with Jonathan,
Yeah.
he really, he knew how to talk to people. I think he
Yeah.
was from like Queens or something, you know?
Oh. Yeah, and I like that Jonathan is bullish on the future of true crime podcasting. He's got some interesting ideas there, and now he's positioned himself as a really powerful kind of player in the space.
Mhm.
He's kind of the decision maker for Sony podcasting about what gets made and what doesn't. So that's super cool, and he's got in my opinion, a really good eye for content. So
Yeah, I
um,
agree. I mean, I think that a lot of people, and particular, I mean, I fall in this camp too. I love narrative, podcasting, but
yeah,
it's so expensive. People don't realize, or maybe they do, but it's like we're fighting for it. Where you want to tell these stories and go deep and
yeah,
long, and it's like it's hard to get these things approved. Especially with all the people getting huge money up front. These big stars have kind of,
yeah, that's going away though.
yeah.
It's going away because the business model is so kind of nebulous. It's tough to. Yes, it's expensive, and at the same time, it's tough to get that money because it's difficult to make money on a limited series because you have such a short runway. You got 6 or 10 episodes for advertisers to kind of turn it around. So it's tough, but it can be done.
It's so good. I love it.
Yep. It's great. All right. Well, good. And he was a great interview. He was a lot of fun. He answered everything, and I always ask the dipshit questions like, did you lose any friends because of this? But that's what I really wanted to know. You're honest about things like that. It's going to piss people off,
I don't think that's a dipshit question. I thought that was a great question.
Yeah, but it's like I'm asking for dirt on people.
Because going back to the full thing, and he said he did.
I know. I know.
That's the thing about putting yourself out there like that, because when you put yourself out there and you're a journalist and you're telling somebody else's story and you're giving both sides and you're being balanced and fair, you're trying to, if they make fun of you or they say things about you or you lose friends, it's like, it's not you. But when you're literally putting your story out there, it just feels like your stomach, your guts are gushing out,
Yeah.
And so then to have people reject you, and I think that makes him a better producer and a chooser of stories, because he knows what it feels like.
Yeah.
He knows what that feels like, and he even said that, like, yeah, I know what it feels like.
Well, it was great. It was fun participating in that interview with him, and it was good to meet him, and hopefully we'll hear more of him in the future.
Absolutely.
So, you got anything on tap for next week?
I'll keep you guessing.
All right, keep me guessing. All right, well, that'll do it for this bonus episode, Nation. If you enjoyed it, please head over to Apple Podcasts, give us a rate and a review, maybe share with your friends. It would really help us out. And please consider supporting the great companies that support our show. Without them, we couldn't do what we do. So please stay safe until we drop it next week. Carolyn, anything you'd like to add?
I am Carolyn Osorio with Branden Morgan, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
From Cloud 10, Criminal Mischief is a pie-in-the-sky production recorded in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Branden Morgan and myself. Music by Soundstripe. I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.